Ignore everything else that's in here. So I'm part of a group 3. We're a very serious group. You haven't heard about us, then you're not paying attention. We struck on this idea of talking about education around climate change, which if you've been here the last couple of days, you've heard us talk about a little bit. So specifically, our problem is developing content that helps solve the problem of students who have a lack of engagement, true understanding, and also an emotional connection to issues related to climate change. And that's not just a student problem, that's a wider cultural and civilization problem. And so we talked about how can we use virtual reality specifically to try to create content that would do this. So we came up with this idea, and I will try to use this Microsoft Surface. Oh wait, can I touch it? Yes. Okay. So our basic idea, which I just talked about, is to somebody is making changes live. Is to create a series of virtual reality vignettes that take students through different scenes and places. So the first one is an experience where a city is overcome by rising sea levels. So the student would be brought to that city as it exists now, and then the experience would take them from where the city is now and then kind of give a time-lapse type experience to how the city shifts and changes based on rising sea levels. And if you have seen images like this that are photoshopped, where you see, a whole city that is underwater. But imagine this as a virtual reality experience where you're seeing the city and then you are seeing the water levels rise and you're seeing the actual physics of the water, and you can go down to the street level. And all of this can be pretty simply accomplished with open 3D models of most major cities that exist, even with skins of most of the buildings. That this is not like a complex problem to solve. It's just creative implementation. So that's one vignette. So the other is the death of the Great Barrier Reef. So taking students underwater to the Great Barrier Reef and having this vibrant and beautiful scene with fish and coral and all this beauty that is associated with the reef, and then show what inevitably will happen when the reef dies. That all the color is washed away, all of the life is gone. So again, having this kind of time-lapse experience where the student gets to kind of watch and trying to create these scenes and images that at first you're kind of struck by the excitement, so you're struck by the excitement of the bustling nature of the city, and then slowly you're brought into this very kind of isolated and kind of situation of despair. But trying to keep all of that rooted in the reality of the science that exists and have all of this paired with narration that is both walking you through some pieces of the data and the science, but also trying to provide a narrative that goes along with it. Also wanted to look at melting glacier ice. And we had a couple of others too that we talked about, but this is kind of our initial talk. So taking that, and then one of the things we just talked about was taking this and prototyping it in a large, I think ideally a large seminar-style science course where you're running a very large class in multiple sections, where you can have one section that gets to go through this virtual reality experience, and they're expected to then out of that come up with a creative solution to a problem related to climate change. And then another group of students in a different section just engages with traditional medium about climate change. So traditional video, written content, lectures, and then analyzing both student engagement, student performance, and the kind of the nature and the validity of the projects that come out of that, and trying to measure both the tangible data, but also this intangible thing of how passionate do students become after they've engaged with a more kind of immersive and emotionally connective plea for trying to understand this content. So that's it. You gave me 2 minutes, but I'm done.
Okay, good.
So
That gives you 2 minutes for audience feedback.
audience feedback and questions, snarky remarks.
Who has
Yes.
already developed a system like this, or a program like this?
Who has already developed a program like this?
Yes, how is your work related to other efforts?
Yeah, so there are already efforts to try to use virtual reality for empathic learning. The UN has a couple of projects for trying to engage students in experiences in refugee camps. There are independent companies that have worked on empathic narrative pieces and have also been doing research and a little bit of engagement around trying to track user responses and data. I was at a conference in April and I told some people on my team about this experience that I got to see where you are in a virtual reality headset in a kind of very roughly 3D rendered environment while you are seeing a woman grieving over her dying husband, and then you're hearing one of her diary entries be read to you in the headset. And while I was in line to do it, every single person that was in front of me, which is like 5 or 6 people, came out of the headset just weeping. And it was this moment for me where I was like, wow, there's something really wild going on here. And I've seen similar responses with people with different UN projects and other things that I've seen happening. So that's a little bit of kind of where I see what other people are doing, but I think, I don't know if I've specifically seen anyone do anything with this related to the sciences, but that doesn't mean that it hasn't been done, so, yeah.
How would you go about assessing student engagement?
Assessing student engagement. I think that is a really good question. And I think that would, come back in the quality of student work and their comprehension of the material. So, I'm a firm believer that if you can create an emotional investment, if you can create investment of any kind in a student, that they're more prone to retain information. So if you're pairing both, if you're pairing your data with narrative and with an immersive experience, that you have a greater chance of students retaining really valuable information and also creating a connection that will make them or encourage them to seek out information on their own. So I think seeing whether or not that happens is kind of the point of this. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would also say that student reflection can give you incredible data.
Oh, yeah.
Qualitative data.
Yeah, having students reflect on their experience and then comparing that to students reflecting on the traditional video
It's not an
experience.
experience, just for understanding. You know
Right.
what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, their understanding after the experience is what it is. So, all right.
Okay, well done.
Team three.
Yes.
We're team 2.
Team 2.
Group team.
Maybe we should get team now.
We're team.
Yes.
Okay, I'll just start talking. So we drew a diagram which illustrates some of the concepts that we've been talking about for the last couple of days. I'm going to attempt to run through what the problem was by hopefully reading it off the screen. So the theme here is how to incorporate 3D VLEs into digital learning aids or vice versa. So the problem we have written here is campuses need to experiment with prototyping, viability, 3D environments, fostering, implementing, building, customizing, evaluating, disseminating effective 3D tools and practices, appropriate for diverse learners, curriculum, and teaching styles. So basically getting more of 3D to more people with better, more accessible tools. So we took some ideas like get version control and sustainable file formats and immersive 3D spaces and sort of mushed it together. So we had it on the screen, DigitalOcean.com, which is a service that lets you make a web server in 55 seconds or less with a click of a button, which is sort of how we imagined that something like this tool we're thinking about might work, where you would go and click a button and deploy a sort of pre-packaged set of 3D tools. So something like 3D assets and 3D environments. All this stuff would be built on standards. So you'd have to get groups together to kind of come up with what these standards would be for 3D when thinking about learning environments. So the standards would really not necessarily be about 3D technology, but 3D technology and learning, and maybe some more accessibility related interests.
Yeah, and then the plan will also incorporate like open educational resources.
Yeah, so like this could be OER, right? So open source, accessible to everyone, sort of thing. So we have like a diagram that explains how you would maybe think about packaging 3D assets and avatars and 3D environments, putting them in a transferable format and then packaging them up and then deploying them with a service, sort of like this model here. And then the key difference between how 3D works and how 3D is working right now for learning and how we think it could work is by building in different affordances for different customized spaces. So some of the space examples we have here, if you want to go back to the document, we could show a picture on the screen too. We have like maker spaces and chemistry lab, simulators and game spaces, community, sort of free-form open community environments. We wrote university administration departments, but I don't think we should include that. Like something like orientation, right? So the key difference between these spaces is not that 3D would work differently, it's that the rule sets maybe and the tools that are given in those 3D spaces might be custom tailored to what you're trying to accomplish. Yeah, and automated, right? So sort of like playing different types of games, there's different game mechanics, so you can almost think about different game mechanics or interaction mechanics happening in these different spaces. Let's see, anything else I missed? Yeah, and then we were interested in sort of the future of 3D is probably all going to be web browser based. So this would be, just another place you would go online, but maybe you have an Oculus Rift or Facebook Rift or whatever kind of Rift it is. And
then like an example of how to mash that together. This is actually the Army Research Platform. This is sort of how this could be mashed together. This is actually a website of the Army Research Lab's Military Open Simulator Enterprise Strategy, which is transitioned to the University of Florida. We're figuring out how we're going to use it. And it's based on open simulator technology, but if you see one of these environments that's running here, these are all available on downloads that are entire regions. This one in particular is one that I was involved in for a conference that Joyce, this is where we planned the conference that we held in World, and then this is the example of it running now on wireless in this room. But it takes a client, and what we would like to see is more where it could be much more automated in terms of how it's generated, aligned with pedagogy, and then have the learner support as well incorporated.
We are group one. Our group's idea started out in what we're going to first present with the idea that there's a lot of cultural knowledge and academic knowledge and just general knowledge that you can find at a museum, but these museums are located in specific spots and they're not easily accessible to all people from within the United States or around the world. And although museums, I'm sure, have some things online, we thought that there could be a way to enhance that or spread the increase access for some museums that maybe don't have things online. Probably the Mona Lisa, I know you can find stuff on Mona Lisa online, but just as an example, our idea was at there would, at the heart of it would be a website, which doesn't sound very cutting edge. But within the website, there would be a page for each historical artifact or piece of artwork that would have things like a picture, and it would grab text from Wikipedia. It could grab links and videos, and even AR and VR content could be found on this page. Now, the web page would be useful for just the general public. If they want to read about the Mona Lisa, here's like one page from where's the Mona Lisa? It's in the Louvre. So, okay, so Louvre dot whatever, FR, and they could get all this information. Now, that's not particularly cutting edge. So we also thought that, you know, this information could be useful for, obviously, you could have a virtual environment of the Louvre, and you walk around, and you could see the picture of the Louvre, and within the virtual environment, get this information as well, all coming from, you know, a central website. And so you could have, say, virtual field trips where students could go. But then I think the most cutting edge, what we learned about in presentations this week would be for cases of students who are simply studying this art history or some, you know, monuments or something like that, and they happen to see a picture of a piece of artwork in the textbook or online, and they simply want to learn about it. Now, this could be something that the publisher sets up with their textbook or not, but we can demonstrate how students could, or any user could use their phone, grab, detect a trigger, and gather the same information that we would be storing here on the website.
So here comes the live demo, right? Sure. So in essence, as he said, like, it's just setting up that any artwork, whether it be visible in a museum or visible in a textbook or anywhere else you may find it, I mean, that you would get additional information. So I'm just using LayAR as a quick way to prototype this, so which is another AR kind of app. It's more a publishing one, but it's a quick, so I hold it up here, and I click that, and it's that trigger would allow you, whether then on the painting itself, or this page is mapped too, where the trigger would have pulled up their additional video content, and then even links to the Wikipedia article and other information that can come from, say, a printed page, or even from the artwork itself. We had it going over there just a bit ago, so I don't know if it's just the internet connection being a little funny. But when we get up, you can come see it there.
So, one of our ideas, we would have pictures of artwork, and they would be with an app. All you'd have to do is point your phone at it. It would match up the picture you see with your camera with what's stored in the database, and then on that, and then that matching up that image would then lead to being able to view video or different links to useful sites about this. But beyond just thinking about artwork, you know, obviously this could be used for anything that you have. I mean, just think about any picture or diagram you have in a textbook. Your two-dimensional graph on a printed page now becomes, you know, maybe a three-dimensional graph or something, you know, something that's dynamic. Yeah.
The internet dropped on this. So now this is actually a marker, right? So you see that you can sort of, I mean, not probably, here, but you can see how they move it. That is actually a video marker that makes this sort of live. I can click on it and we'll play the video. I'm going to just go here too to the larger page. So we'll page that. And And you can see the video markers still there, along with there's a couple other little markers that popped up, that little things that you can click on, and this will take you to the. Actually, let me do it first. And then this is just from Happy to Be Khan Academy video of a learning lesson about the painting and about Renaissance art. And let me get back to there. So the other things on the page. What's that? And then that would pull up, say, another additional content, in this case, like the Wikipedia article. And as he said, it could really be used, these sort of using AR in these innovative ways, especially I think for a textbook angle, you could embed in all this rich content, whether it be art or other subject matter. So.
And then as far as assessment, I mean, I think, you know, this lends itself to fairly standard assessment. You know, measuring pre-post learning gains for students. We would just use a regular textbook or, you know, a regular website. But also, you know, you could measure in terms of accessibility, because just because the information is out there, I mean, you can find stuff about famous painters everywhere on the web. If it's at all difficult or takes any amount of time, there will be a percentage of students who simply don't do it. So if it's simply as easy as pointing your phone at it and then, oh, now everything that I need is right here, the students are more likely to actually access that information. So you could measure not only learning gains, but also just measure, did they access the information? And that in and of itself would be a benefit. Any questions?
Just to expand on what you're talking about in terms of the applications of it, the group that I work with is actually looking for a solution to use at state and regional parks in the area, many of which are historical. So we want exactly that, to be able to point at the sign, the entrance sign to the park, and have it trigger stuff. What software are we talking?
I mean, this is LAR, but I mean, there's a lot of like.
Sorry, it's what?
LAR, it's more, this particular one is more, I think, in the advertising sphere that they tend to use it because it's like more geared for a printed page. But there's lots of AR apps that have been mentioned earlier, and even like more complex ones like Euphoria, I think was mentioned the first day, where you can really do some deep development, even like tie it to Unity and complex things. But they you know, would be the same concept, whether you're using something like this, which I said is more printed. But, and I mean, we're sort of pulling out information, but it could even get deeper than that. Like you look at that painting and you move it to over, you know, one particular part of it, and it you know, shows you what the deeper layer or like or a video on what the technique was to do those paint strokes, or you know, in the case of science, you know, it shows you the you know, the chemical reaction happening or something rather than just the static, you know. So
we're team 4 sitting over there in that corner. Okay, people scattered. So our project is called Job Search Protocol, and it's since we learned a couple of things today, so we try to implement them. One of them was, of course, since I did the Reveal.js presentation, we made this whole thing as a Reveal.js presentation with that markdown thing. So our problem statement was that we found some research that says that 75.2% of developers are interested about learning new job opportunities, but in that survey, you also learned that only like 20% of them are actually looking for a job, and we feel that perhaps part of that reason is because they don't feel maybe comfortable, and this is true with students as well. They're not maybe comfortable with the interview process, and yet at the same time, they don't have some of those soft skills that are necessary to be successful at a job interview. So we were using, help me out, VREs, the virtual reality environments, I guess, or I'm not sure if I'm saying it correctly. To kind of help them go through this process in a non-threatening way. One of the things that I think Stephanie mentioned was that only half of the developer jobs that will be available in a few years will be able to be filled. So it's a big problem in the industry that we're trying to sort of work through. And this should say like the solution. So our solution is to help people go through the process of, first of all, starting out by assessing their current skills, and then we'll use a VLE to go through a mock interview process, and then give people suggestions of companies that they may be able to apply for, but based on their current skills, as well as the companies may be available for them to go through. So, helping them practice the process in a non-threatening way could be through a VLE will help them feel comfortable with the experience, and then when they show up for a job interview, they'll be a little more comfortable. So this is sort of our mock-up. And the first is you go through an assessment where you get asked a series of questions that make sure that the experience that we're planning or the job process that we're planning on asking you about is something that you want to explore. So if you're a database developer, we want to know that that's the type of thing that you're interested in learning. And then you would apply for a job in a virtual learning environment for a startup company. And you would start out by going, this is not 3D here, I'm sorry for the flat environment, but in the virtual learning environment, you would virtually walk into this building, and then you would meet with somebody from this is my interpretation of people from San Francisco. It's some sort of hippie person. It's a little dated, but they're not wearing any shoes and long hair, and their tables are like a door probably. And then you actually, once you fill out your assessment, you kind of enter this virtual environment, then you go through an interview process, and perhaps there's a module that speaks about asking you questions. So perhaps one of the virtual environment modules would be, hey, you're interested in database development, so go ahead and draw in this whiteboard a database schema, and this would be a virtual environment, so you physically get up there and draw in that environment. And then you go through, say, once you do a good job with the assessment, then maybe you practice a phase of the module where you go through a negotiation session and you kind of finish the interview with that person, giving you a little bit of the taste and experience of going through an actual interview, showing you what it's like. And then there's actually another phase that I didn't draw here, which would be some sort of next steps for you, where you would get some information about companies. So I actually put the modules here. Module 1 is assessing the interest, so that we know the type of sort of company that you want to work for and the type of maybe interview questions that we're going to be asking you based on your skills and assessment. And the second module was the interview practice. You walk into this virtual environment for a company that you want to work with. Then the module 3 would be actually different depending on your assessment. You would be shown different types of questions that are asked by maybe startups or development companies. So if you're applying for a mobile development company, perhaps your module here would be prototype a mobile application. That could be your module. And then after that, you move on to the process of interviewing and doing a mock interview with either an AI that asks you questions, and perhaps the AI is a little obnoxious or tries to throw you off your game like a real interviewer would do, sell me a pencil, that kind of thing. Then you kind of get that experience of a little bit of the stress of applying for the interview. And then perhaps one of the questions is about negotiating salary and other things that you run into in an actual realistic interview. And then after that, we would have like a next step module where we discuss say for example, so the theory is that you would actually, because you have this great sort of experience in this learning environment, you could actually ask different companies to provide examples of what working in their company is like. So we thought about some virtual tours of different companies that showcase like either photos or maybe like a VR tour of their work environment. I know that I just went to the LinkedIn offices in San Francisco, and they have like really cool kind of things like in every floor, et cetera, et cetera. So I think if you were able to, based on your assessment, we were able to show you, hey, here's 5 companies that we think will work great for you. You did great in your interview process. Here's what working at Google is like. Here's what working at LinkedIn is like. Here's maybe perhaps like a virtual tour of the office where you would be working, and then maybe there will be a next step to sort of go after that. So, and then we looked at existing sort of content that covers this. Since we learned about lynda.com today, and I have to work there, these are actually links to a bunch of different videos that talk about the experience. We feel that what we're doing is a little bit different. It's actually letting somebody, kind of apply for a job and giving them practice. I know that the more you do something, the better you get at it. So we feel that this virtual experience of going through a job interview and having either an AI or another virtual individual that is throwing you off your game and asking you realistic questions is perhaps something to explore. So this is the people in our team. And that's it. So any questions? Yeah.
Can we use your virtual space as one of our virtual spaces in our ecosystem for, yeah. So
What?
in our ecosystem model, we anticipated so that's like a certain type of 3D space for certain type of affordances, right? Like the idea that it's geared towards a certain type of pedagogical approach and like certain types of learning outcomes. So I guess what we're saying is we were thinking along the same lines.
Kind of the same, yeah. I mean, I think giving people the experience will help them be less intimidated when they go apply for a job. If that environment contain actual, like a real potential like interviewer or recruiter from Microsoft, say, it also provides a safe space in which perhaps the actual interviewing is not able to have a bias based on what you look like, or your gender or anything like that. So maybe it would help kind of, help with hiring minorities because the interviewer wouldn't necessarily be able to have a bias based on an avatar that looks maybe generic or some things like that. So.
Okay.
Your team today. Basically, our problem dealt with basically classes in college that include a lab period as an extra credit towards the class. And the big problem with it is that for most of the time in the lab, we're spending that either setting up, waiting for resources, or waiting for the teacher's help if they're going around asking questions, instead of actually applying the skills that we've been learning all this time in the class, such as like in physics, like doing the calculations for problems, stuff like that. And that's a big issue because just setting up stuff isn't really doing much for you. So our solution that we came up with was having these labs like already pre-set up in a virtual environment. So all you have to do is put on the headset and everything's already set up for you. There's already like preset questions that are commonly asked, so you can get your answers from there. And boom, the labs are like being simulated right in front of you, and you're done 10 times quicker than what you would have been taking, the time you would have been taking if you would have actually done it in person. And then you'd have that much more time actually doing the calculations, using the skills that you've been learning, and you're going to get a better experience. I have like this little video clip that I found that is somewhat similar to what we had in mind. This would be like with the VR glasses on, so everything would be three-dimensional. You could do all this with the controllers, similar to what Doug had. And obviously, with this kind of thing, you could build labs that are way more detailed than like anything you do in like a classroom. Like something like possibly like two cars crashing, get the velocity of each of them, and be actually like right there next to it. And like stuff like that is not possible in the like doing that in a lab classroom. So like there's so much more potential in that. And it's like really accessible. Just put on the glasses and everything's there for you, ready. So that was kind of our idea. Any questions?
Related work? Who else has done something similar, and how is yours different from that?
To be honest, if I'm a student.
No, answer the question.
Anybody does.
I'll help you out and say that we did something for chemistry labs like this second night. Now, it's not a VR environment, but still 3D virtual world. And the feedback we got from students was in many ways similar to what you were hoping for. They liked the idea that stuff was ready. They didn't have to wait in line to get chemicals, and they didn't have to look around and try and find the container, the carboy of chemicals somewhere hidden in the lab. They could just work in their own space because we had provided all the materials for each lab station. We didn't really intend to do that. That's just how it got made. But that was something the students really focused on. However, using our virtual world, it took them a little bit longer to actually do things that normally you like pour stuff out into a beaker and it doesn't take very long. But in a virtual world, the clicking and the dragging and stuff that can take a little longer. They ended up spending as much time in the lab session, but they thought it went by faster.
Really?
Yeah.
Did they find it more engaging?
They didn't like, they liked it. This was a freshman lab, and so a lot of students said, was kind of apprehensive about doing chemistry, so this was nice to kind of have this like no stress environment. But they also said that they liked, that in our project they did a little bit of both. They did some real lab and virtual labs, and so they said they actually liked doing the real labs also because they recognized that it's a little bit more sciencey to be in the lab with the lab coat on, like actually handling chemicals. So they didn't want all of one or all of the other, but they definitely liked
Science.
Yeah, we were thinking more of like VR, like just like the games that Doug had. That is in green. They're right, but yeah, like something like that. So I mean, they would feel like they're a person still. Like they could just pour the stuff in the cup, like in the beakers and stuff. They wouldn't have trouble like figuring out like how to click and drag and pour stuff on. So like that's what we figured. Like we'd be saving the time there.
That's
Everything's be already set up, and they could do everything the same way they could in person. So. Anyone else?
Thank you.